Good morning, class. I am feeling slightly better. Now only one of my nostrils is leaking. So, progress. And you know what? That kind of ties into what we have to talk about today, which is humanistic psychology, which is all about progress of the self. God, I nailed that transition. All right, so let's continue and look at Module 57. It's a short one, so it should be a shorter video, definitely not the 15 minutes last time. And as we talk about humanistic psychology, we are going to be sort of opposing some previous ideas that we were talking about. Ooh, let's see here. I just realized the screen's turning off. Actually, we might just have to do it like this. I think we'll just do it like this. That'll be a little bit easier. At least you guys can see everything. All right. So, humanistic psychology starts about the 60s, and it's a way to not focus on the negatives. Freud was all about like these negative internal conflicts inside of our minds. Well, humanistic is all about focusing on the positive, focusing on how do people strive to be the best versions of themselves they can be. They study people through their own self-reported experiences and feelings. So, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and let me just pop this over here. Oh, we recognize that. There's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, well, yeah, you get it. See, getting better, but not fully better because I still have to sneeze. Oh, excuse me, guys. All right. According to Maslow, we are moving towards something called self-actualization. This is the process of becoming the best us we can be, fulfilling our potential, whatever that means. The purpose and communion beyond the self. So, like fulfilling yourself to the highest degree, and so you can be more than just a person, and you can help others and become the best member of your community, the best member of your school, the best member of your family, whatever it is that you can be. That's the idea behind Maslow. And of course, with Maslow's pyramid here, you need physiological needs before you can move up to safety needs. You need safety needs before you can move up to love and belonging. After you get love and belonging, you need esteem. And then after that, you can finally start to desire to become the most that you can be. So like there's no way you're reaching your potential, which is basically the blue top piece, unless you have the other four. So that's Maslow. Maslow is all about the pyramid. That's what Maslow is all about. That's what big focus is the pyramid. Rogers, on the other hand, he believes that people are basically good and endowed with a self-actualizing tendency. So he believed that people are like moving towards this. He believes that people are always going and trying to self-actualize themselves. He was a person-centered or client-centered perspective, which basically meant in all of his work that he did, he focused on the patient. And he held that a growth-promoting climate required three conditions. So these are the things that need to happen and need to exist in order for a patient to grow and become a better person. And these are one, genuineness. Genuineness. And that is basically people who are open to their own feelings, people who are honest. Then there is acceptance, offering something that's called unconditional positive regard. Now, unconditional positive regard is a caring, accepting, non-judgmental attitude. Basically, that is just being open and not honest, but open and accepting of other people's problems, of their strengths, and being basically just a non-judgmental, caring, open person. That is what acceptance is, and that is unconditional positive regard. Is hey, you screwed up. That's okay. I still enjoy you. I still respect you. We're all good. And then finally, empathy. We've talked about that. Empathy is the ability to share and mirror other people's feelings, to be able to understand and put yourself in someone else's place. Something which some of us, including those who have antisocial personality disorder, completely lack that ability. But that's neither here nor there, and that's not this unit, so we're not going to worry about it. All right, so here we go. The humanistic approach, the personality theory of Carl Rogers, basic human needs, the need for positive regard, that unconditional positive regard, and the need for self-actualization. The response is unconditional positive regard or conditional positive regard. So unconditional positive regard is regardless of what you do, you are going to receive this good positive feedback. You screw up or something, it's like, hey, I understand, not your best, you do great. Someone applauds you and says good work. That's unconditional positive regard. Conditional positive regard, on the other hand, is when you get praised for the good things you do and ignored or scolded for the bad things that you do. And I mean, we all have been like, scolded or told off. But I mean, like, let's say you accidentally screw up or something like that, and then you are ignored or you're told you're just a screw up or something like that, then um, and then unconditional positive regard would be even after your mess ups, you're treated better. And so these are the results. Self actualization is if you receive unconditional positive regard, you meet that highest level. And if you are only told you're good or only given positive regard, sometimes you can get self discrepancies, which means like you can doubt yourself, which is less than ideal. All right, like I said, it is a short one. I will talk really quickly about it though. Just a couple things that aren't included on the PowerPoint here. So essentially, how do we assess things with Carl Rogers' sort of way of his theory on self-actualization? Well, basically what we do is there's lots of questionnaires that are given to people um, during this style of therapy, and it's basically trying to compare someone's how they perceive themselves with um, what they believe the best version of themselves is. And Rogers believed that the closer those two things are, your perception of yourself and your ideal self, the happier you're going to be. So that was one method that he liked to use a lot. There are a lot of criticisms, just like there is of Freud. There's a lot of criticisms of humanistic psychology as well, and let's just run through them real quick. So let's see here. Some of them are just like Freud. They're sort of vague and subjective. And someone said here that especially with like Maslow created this ideal person. He believed that the ideal person was going to be uh, open, spontaneous, loving, self-accepting, and productive. These are all these things that he believed self-actualization looked like, right? And I think we can all agree that probably makes a good person, but people will argue that that's Maslow's perspective and that's his ideal. Whereas if someone else is, so let's say Maslow's, if we can try to think of someone that falls under that description: open, spontaneous, loving, self-accepting, and productive. Maybe you know a parent, maybe a teacher, a family member. Maybe you can think of someone who is like that. But maybe that's not what you see as being the ideal person. What if your combination of the ideal person it says here is Napoleon, John D. Rockefeller, and U.S. President Donald Trump? This theorist would most likely describe self-actualizing people as undeterred by others' opinions, motivated to achieve, and comfortable with power. Different set of values for a different person, right? So, what does self-actualization actually look like? That can be a difficult question to ask. It might depend on the person. And then this also has an emphasis on individualism. And as we've talked about before, especially in social psychology, individualism is a very Western idea. And when I say Western, I don't mean like Western United States. I mean non-Asian, essentially. Europe and North America and South America. That is what is considered the Western world. And we are a more individualistic part of the world. We care about the individual. We care about what people think. We care about what their opinions are. We want everyone to follow their dreams and be what they want to be. And that is a big thing here. Like you can grow up to be whatever you want. But in other societies, especially Asian cultures, but others as well, the idea is a lot more collectivist, meaning it does not matter your personal aspirations. What matters is you fit into where you need to fit into, and that what you do is the best for the group, that you fill your role as best as you can. And if you don't do that, then you can be a bit of a letdown. And humanistic psychology is very individualistic. It focuses so much on the individual as to almost not even be useful or thought of. So it does not apply to every society or culture equally. Um, every single psychological perspective has, criticisms. That's why there's so many different ones. All of them have their strengths. All of them have their weaknesses. Uh, so with all that being said, a little shorter today. Still managed to ramble for 9 minutes. We are going to do trait theories tomorrow, and then hopefully you guys can wrap up all these quizzes before Friday. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching, and I will see you tomorrow around the same time, around noon. All right, bye guys.